TPMS.org, www.tpms.org, is if it sees that you're currently logged in, you'll see a screen that looks like this. First name, last name, email. Click on send account setup email. If it doesn't show up in your inbox, you may want to look in like a junk mail folder or spam folder. You can click the link in there and set up an account, which is just setting up a password and security question. Should only take a couple of minutes, and then you can come back into TPMS and go to the login screen and log in with your email address and the new password that you set up. If you get to TPMS and you see the login screen, it means that your browser doesn't have the cookie for TPMS Transit, the old system, and but you still can do self-registration if you know your login and PIN code for Transit. You just click on this link here at the bottom of the login screen, and it'll pull up PIN code registration option. So put in your login and PIN code that you would use to get into Transit, and that should get you here to the self-registration screen to fill in first name, last name, email, and continue with account setup.
Do you do the same thing if you're a new user?
So yes, as long as you have the login and PIN code, this in the old system is only specific to an organization. So it's not like specific to a user. So however many people are in the organization who need to get logged in now can go ahead and go through this process of registering. This self-registration feature here, these screens will only be available for so long. You know, it'll probably be a few months, maybe 3 or 6 months, and then you won't have the option to log in with the PIN code and get registered, but they will be available for a while. Does that answer the question?
Yes and no, because I am an existing user. We've never, as far as I know, had a PIN code other than my regular username and password. And it still works for me. I'm on the new system, but we have a new transit manager. I need to get in it. And if we have this information, I've never seen it.
So this is the two fields that were used to log into the legacy system. They were labeled login PIN code. It actually depended on what kind of user you were as to what values were put into those. But if you don't have those, we can get those for you. But whatever, when you pulled up the old system, it had 2 boxes for logging in. Whatever you put in for those values is, you know, what you can use to do the self-registration. Like there was multiple kinds of users that had different kinds of login values in the old system.
Also, if need be, we can make you an administrator, and then Bob will show this in a second. Once you're an administrator, you can add folks yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So as Brandy just said, moving forward after a period here of self-registration, and then once everyone's migrated over to the new system, we do have the ability, and I'll go ahead and show it. We'll jump into TPMS here. I'm a system administrator, so I've got access to all organizations, but for users who are not system administrators, but who are administrators for a certain organization, like a transit agency, they can be given the role of user administrator, and that anyone who has that role will see this users option up here in the menu. You click on that, and then you can click add person and enter in information for new folks. So for anyone who that would be appropriate for to be an administrator for users of the transit agency or planning agency, you can let us know. By default, that self-registration process is not going to assign anyone as a user administrator because we don't have a good way of knowing who would be appropriate for that role. But if you reach out to us, we can certainly assign that to someone in the organization who then could manage users going forward. So if there was a new hire in a year from now, someone on your staff could be a user administrator, and then you can go ahead and get that person signed up without contacting us. It is another option, certainly is either self-registration, or in the future, if you need to get someone signed up, you can always reach out to us as well. I mean, we're happy to help also. One thing, maybe just one last thing, is if you get registered and you go to TPMS and you get logged in, and then you come back to TPMS and you've been logged out, like you've clicked log out, or the login screen has a remember me option that will keep you logged in for 2 months. But if you don't check that, then you need to log in the next time you came back in. If you get to this self-registration screen again, you shouldn't, but if you happen to get to this self-registration screen again and you've already been registered, there is a link here to go to login. So you don't want to register twice. It's going to tell you that email is already used by a user. So if you've already completed user registration and you've been able to log into TPMS and you come back and get to here, you'll just want to click on go to login. Any other questions on the user registration piece of it? If there's not any more questions, then I'll hand it off to Jen, and she can show you the new system.
All right, hi everyone, I'm Jen, one of the developers for Transit. I believe you can all see my screen over here. So we'll just go ahead and walk through kind of how to use the system, and if you have questions along the way, then feel free to stop me and talk about them.
Is there any way to make it bigger?
Not sure. I don't see what you guys see when I share, so Brandy or Bob, if you can maybe help.
You may try the Zoom, just changing the Zoom a little bit. I don't know if that'll affect
yes,
it.
The Zoom will work. You on the right-hand side of the screen there, you see the plus and minus sign. If you hit that, then it will.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay, I see. So no need, Jen. You're good.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just go through this. Right now, I am logged in as Ames Transit Agency SciRide. So everything will kind of be focused on SciRide. We try to make the system kind of adapt to who you are, so you can see your projects and not have to go through, a bunch of other people's. So just keep that in mind when we open stuff up here. So the first thing is in the top left corner, we have the different pieces of TPMS. We are obviously focused on transit, which is this last tab over here. Inside of this list, you can see that we're showing projects for transit agency SciRide. You can change that to see counts for different agencies here. But this list shows you counts of how many projects are in each approval level status. So we've got 21 in prep, submitted, TIP approved, PT approved. So you can kind of see the different counts there. If we click on one of these, though the drop downs here, so SciRide, this is going to carry over. So I'll open up 2023, and this list here is going to be focused on SciRide. We can collapse down this left side with this button to give us more room. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then if we look at this list here, you can see that there's a bunch of information. You can change what you see. So if you come over to the blue button in the right corner of the list, you can click that, and this is your menu, and you can choose different options here to kind of customize what you see. So the first thing is the columns. If you click that, you get this list of all the column options that you can choose. So if we want to turn on the version, we can click that, hit apply, and now that version is there. We can see that as well. If we go back in, another thing you can do is drag these to change where they show up. So if we want to see version first, we'll put it at the top, click apply, and now that's the first column we see. The next thing I'll show you in this list is the filters. This will be really useful for filtering down your list just to the projects that matter right now. So if you click on filters, you can see right now we have sponsor type is transit agency and sponsor is SciRide. Those came over from clicking that outer list. We can turn those on or off if you want, but we'll leave them on. And let's say we want to see only in prep projects. So we'll say approval level is in prep. We can add the filter and then hit apply. And this will now filter down. We'll only see in prep projects. Another thing about this list is if you have your funding column shown, so you want to see those dollars, and it's multiple years, you can click on this cell here for the years and expand that. And instead of seeing the total amount, it actually breaks it down by year for you. You can also go up to the years column, this menu here. You can expand all the funding years or you can collapse them. So if I expand it, it will expand all of those years that have, all of those rows that have multiple years. Some other options in this menu are saving as a CSV and printing a PDF. When you choose those options, it will matter what columns you have shown. So it will take those into account when you click on those. Like I said, the print is going to be your PDF. Another thing to note for transit is up in the top right corner, we do have a print button. That's going to print your entire transit program. That does not depend on this grid. It is a predefined PDF that you get. So that's where you get that, is in that top corner.
It may be important to point out, Jen, that it doesn't care about what columns you have in that grid, but it does respect the filters you have in that grid.
Okay, fair enough, yeah. Okay, does anybody have any questions on how this list works? There's a lot of features that you can use in here. Okay, we'll keep going then. So next thing is I'm going to go ahead and open a project up. So we'll click on the row. And as you can see, it opens up the tab over on the right. We can collapse this list down as well to get a better view of it. And we can just kind of go through the project. So the first thing at the top is going to be any notes that anybody has added. As a sponsor, I can add a sponsor note, but any of the PA, the FTA, they can all add notes as well for you to see. The next section is the details. So it's going to be your basic project information. If this is a vehicle, there'll be information about the vehicle as well. Funding is going to break down all of your funding sources and the years and then total them. Programs is going to be a list of all other programs that this project has been in. You can click these and open up that program if you want to view that project there. And then at the bottom is going to be your log. So this is going to record any activities that have been taken on the project. So if you edit it and change any information, that will show up here. If it gets submitted or approved, that will show up. So you can kind of get a history of what has happened with that project. At the top here, we have a list of buttons. So an edit button, so you can update the project. The submit button to submit for approval. Remove to actually remove the project, or print to get the PDF of the project. So if we go ahead and edit this, and click edit, and the form will open here. So the first thing is your type of project and subtype. If it's capital, you'll need to choose which subtype you have there. Description, your planning agency. If this project is a vehicle, you want to click on this vehicle checkbox, and you can kind of fill in the information there. First thing is you can choose an inventory vehicle. So if you click that, this grid will open up, and you can choose any of these vehicles in here. If I hit submit, that information will show up. So you can see that. And you can also remove that if that's the wrong one, or if you decide it's not needed. Then you'll want to choose your type, and then any options down here. Once you choose type and options, it will show you your funding guidance. So you can see that federal aid maximum down here. And any of these options will be reflected in that. So, you know, when you pick those on, they'll show up as well to help you with that.
Sorry, I missed that. Was there a vehicle drop-down list to pick the vehicle?
Yep. So the inventory vehicle will have this list. And then the type of vehicle that your project is this list here.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the last thing on the form here is going to be your funding. So you just go through, choose your year, type, program, and amount. And if you need more lines, you just add, or you just click this add funding button here, and you can put in as many as you want. You can, of course, remove those as well. So that kind of wraps up the form. Once you submit that, then it will bring up your details, and you can kind of check over that everything was correct in there. All right, do we have any questions on getting a project in here? Another option for adding a project to your program is this import. This is going to allow you to pull in any project that's been in a different program. So you just click that import project button, you choose what program that other project is in. So right now I've got 2022, and then you can come in and choose any of those projects. Once you click on that, it will open in this form. It'll fill everything that it can fill out. You will have to update the funding years, and then you can submit, and then that project will be in this program as well. So I think that covers kind of the basic use of transit. I know that was kind of fast and definitely a lot of information. You guys have any questions?
Jen, did you cover submitting the project at the buttons on the top of the project details?
A little bit. So submit is going to be your second one here. This is going to be submitting for approval. I think Brandy helped me a little bit. Once you submit this, the PA will get a hold of it and they can approve it from there.
Yeah, the button will change from submit to approve.
Okay.
And we also have a checkbox on the left of the list. That's for setting approval levels for multiple projects. If you were to submit like several.
Yep. So yeah, these checkboxes are going to allow you to submit multiple projects at once. So we can select a few here, go up to the menu here, and click approve. And that's going to bring up this menu. You can choose what approval level you want it. So let's say we want to submit them. Click submit. And give it a minute. And it will tell you 2 out of 3 projects have been updated. So that kind of shows one of them didn't work. But we can look here. I do have a filter for approval level. So I'm going to go up to the menu here and turn off filters. Let's see. Actually, I want to turn on a different filter. So I'm going to say approval level is submitted. Add that. And as you can see, this MPrep one is still there, but it's turned off. So click apply. And now we can see our submitted ones. And I'm going to assume that 2 of those I tried to approve there are submitted.
Hi, folks. There's a little bit of background noise. If you guys could turn off your microphone if you're not speaking, that would be helpful.
All right. Is there any other questions, or Bob, Randy, if I missed anything?
Maybe show the reports, Jen, on the list.
Yeah.
And,
So
maybe the search too. I mean, search is hopefully self-explanatory, but.
sure. So the first thing here is reports. This is right here, this drop down. This is going to allow you to save a layout of this list. So, you know, if there are some columns that you like to see sometimes, but not always, you can kind of save different views of this list. So once you get your columns and your filters set up, you can come up here to reports and you can click save as new report. So we'll just say this is submitted projects because I do have that filter on for submitted. So now I have saved that report. It's going to show up here. Every time we come back to this list, you can get that option down here for submitted projects. So if you want to have different views, so like for example, this one is all of your submitted, maybe you want all of your in prep, you can save as many reports as you want and come and switch between those without having to go back into the menu and set all of your columns and filters again. You can also set up a schedule if you would like. This is going to allow this report to be emailed to you and anybody else that you choose on a schedule. So it can be daily, yearly, whatever. And that way you can get an email with any updates.
Jen, do you want to maybe just go into filters and change it to InPrep and just save a InPrep report, and then you can demonstrate toggling back and forth on those reports?
So if I turn back on InPrep and I'll take off submitted, we can see all those in prep. And now you get this little asterisk showing you that this has changed. So if we go in here, we can say save as new report. And we don't want this to be submitted. We want it to be in prep. So now this is saved as in prep projects. And you can see your submitted are here. So you can just click on that. And that will change all your filters for you. And if you have different columns, that'll change those as well. So you can, like Bob said, you can just kind of go back and forth depending what you want to see.
And so it's all things that you could do, you know, manually going in and changing the list filters and so forth. It just lets you set it up ahead of time so that it's easier to get back and forth between different things.
Jen, do you want to maybe speak to some of the things that we addressed since yesterday? I don't know if you remember those off the top of your head.
Yes. So the big one is going to be the inventory vehicle for a project. That was not working before. So if we come in to edit a project that does have an inventory vehicle, it is now selected for you. That was an issue. let's see. The other thing is seeing your own projects. So like I mentioned, these are supposed to be filtered down for you, depending who you are. There was an issue with that we fixed, I think yesterday or this morning, not sure. But anyway, those are now fixed and will be filtered down for who you are, so you don't have to wade through a bunch of extra projects. Those are the big ones. I can't remember if there was another one.
And it may be worth noting that what the system's trying to do is get you to a starting point, but you still have access to all that data. So if you are interested in seeing other projects, different years, different sponsors, all that data is available. You can only edit, the projects that you have rights to edit, but all the data is there in the system. And if that list starts showing, all projects from all sponsors, and that's not what you're interested in, it's probably because you cleared filters, and that's driven all by filters. So it's all available to you as far as filtering that data however you want to see it. So try and make it easy. The most obvious information when you first come in, but you've got the power to see whatever information is in the system by leveraging those filters.
Another thing that was addressed since yesterday is there were a fair number of missing unit numbers, vehicle unit numbers, and vehicle VIN numbers for vehicles that were being replaced or rehabbed or what have you. Those have been populated since yesterday, so there's far more unit numbers and VIN numbers in their system now.
All right, does anybody have anything else? As you guys are going through this and using it for the first few times, if you run into anything that isn't working as you would expect, or there's clearly a problem, please contact us. We'll get it fixed as soon as we can. Even if you just have a question on how something is working, or you want help getting your list set up the way that makes sense to you, we can help with all of that. Just let us know. Like, we want this to be easy for you guys to use.
Jen, do you want to maybe show the drop down for the year inside of the header there in the application where it says 2023 draft? I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
I may have passed that. So instead of going back to this outer list each time you want to change a program, there is this little shortcut here. So you can just click the drop down and choose which program you want to see. Once you do that, it'll just open up right in this tab here, the tab that you already had open. So just kind of a shortcut to change programs and see everything you need to see. All right, you guys are quiet today.
Yeah, so if there are no more questions or discussion points for folks, I think we could wrap it up if everyone's ready.
Yeah, and we did talk yesterday during our training about having kind of a follow-up meeting, and I don't remember how long, maybe a couple weeks after you guys have used this. So you can get something like that set up if you guys have general questions or issues with how everything's working, and get another meeting set up to kind of go through stuff.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I think we'll say goodbye unless does anybody have any question? If not, we'll go ahead and end the meeting. And thank you everyone for attending and giving us your time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.